watched the clip. I watched the clip of. I was watching the IU Purdue game my freshman year at home, and Neil Reed, he actually dislocated his shoulder, and he was out there with a harness on that looks like football shoulders. I'm sure
I
pads.
remember that. I remember that.
Neil handled the basketball like face grimacing. It would slip out all the time. But he played. I remember he lost the ball, dove on the ground, got the ball back up, stood up. So I just bring one close to home, and you just never know what that player or those people are going through. But that adrenaline is pumping so hard, right? But I know after those games, man, Neil would be in excruciating pain.
And I know he was a player.
Yeah.
He was a player. And obviously he's passed, and that's sadder as well. And all the stuff that happened after that is sad because I'm sure he loved playing for Indiana. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. You were there. And I know there were issues that happened. Obviously, we know there are issues that happen.
Right.
And the main issue with I wasn't there. Was it a choke or was it just a grab, just a stop? I mean, just putting a hands on someone. I mean, because I think back, I'm like, dude, I got an 8th grade story in football that makes that look like kiddie time.
Yeah.
And that story does not bother me. I turn that story on myself all the time.
Yeah. It was, a grab. It was a very aggressive grab. And you can only imagine that, like, if you get grabbed all of a sudden around your neck area, that the first thing you may be thinking is you're getting choked, right? And it was a grab, right? And even to go into, like, if you're okay with it, what even happened? It was an all practice. For some reason, Neil was going up to shoot the basketball, but then, like, the very last second was trying to pass the ball to people, and people were getting hit. So, like, you're going to rebound. Seriously, you're going to rebound, and he's trying to throw the ball last second, and Coach Knight, hey, call a name out, right? And it just kept happening. And I got instances when Coach Knight was calling Brian Evans like something else. It was funny. It was like serious. Like, he was calling Brian Evans a whole other name the whole practice. Why? What are you doing? Like, everybody's laughing. But anyway, that's what happened. It was literally, he was making plays. He was going up to shoot, and then he didn't want to shoot because somebody contested it. He'll throw the ball. And then Coach Knight just got upset. He got really upset and went up to him and grabbed him. Boom. Right? And you're looking like, okay, wow. Oh, okay, cool. That happened. But that really affected him way beyond I could realize, because that was my roommate. Him, me, and Andre lived together. That car ride home, we laughed about that. Because, Coach Knight did all kinds of stuff. We laughed about that. But Neil wasn't joking. He wasn't laughing. I didn't know the effects of it, right, until the next day you woke up and it was a storm. You know what I'm talking about, right? And it was just like, wow. It just took a whole nother turn to, now what he says versus what Coach Knight said. And, unfortunately, he's not here to defend himself. But that's all that happened. That's really what happened.
And that's what I saw, but that's why I'm like, okay, but I wasn't there. And so there could be, and as you said, it affected him differently because it would have affected me. How it did you? Because I remember being in the 8th grade or 9th grade, rather. I was a freshman in high school, and we were scrimmaging the 8th graders below us, and their coach had been our coach for the 3 previous seasons. And I was mouthing at some kid about clipping me. And he said, get your ass back in the huddle. And I said something smart. You tell him to quit effing clipping me and turn around and walk off. And buddy, let me tell you, I got about 2 steps. And the next thing I know, my head snapped and I'm on the ground.
Yeah.
And I go to get up and same thing, and go to get up and same thing. And it knocked the crap out of me 3 times.
Yeah.
And it made me so mad and embarrassed then. But, after all these years, what was the reason for that? Because you were a smart aleck.
Right.
First of all, you were a smart aleck to a coach on top of that.
Right.
You're a freshman in high school. You should have had that crap kicked out of you. You deserved everything I got. And I'm like going, but that was part of, and I'm out there playing a sport and I'm not going to complain about getting hit. No,
Yeah.
But so yeah, I was just curious. I hate how it happened, but
Yeah, it was, and also, man, we were kind of like we're in a different era. Now, I'm not trying to say like there was a transition effect because that was like the norm growing up. Now, there were certain players you could do that to and certain players you can't, right? Certain players like I can imagine if he did that to you, you just got better and tougher and you took responsibility because but the coach crossed the line, who knows? But that was accepted. Sorry, it was accepted for coaches to do things like that. Now, what Coach Knight did, who knows, right? And I'm getting it's not necessarily controversy, but it happened, right? Unfortunately, he's not here to defend himself. But at the end of the day, lesson learned, man. There's ways to reach people, and my lesson to everybody about that is learning what not to do, not necessarily what to do.
And we've talked about there's each player, man. You have to reach them differently.
Yeah. Man, I've seen clipboards being broken, and we all laugh about it over people's head. I've seen, players get grabbed. Again, these are all things that we laughed about. Like again, it's one thing for it to happen because you're in that environment. Not saying you expect it, but it's like, oh, coach got at you today. Oh yeah, man, he really got. Because it was like that was a part of the culture. It was a part of it, right? But you don't realize the effects. Because I think Neil was the first player that I can honestly say I didn't realize how important mental health was in sports. See, I didn't, and see that's what really did it. It wasn't that more so than what happened after Neil spiraled, man. And he was isolated. He felt alone. Yeah, man. See, again at 2019, you don't realize that because it's like, man.
Right. No, I get that, but I'm just I didn't realize that happened.
What is that? Why you gotta do that, man? We're tough. It's like, man, it did something to him. It took him somewhere different. So he couldn't stay in Bloomington. Like what happened? He felt nobody had his back. Right? He felt alone. He felt, so and I can't, and there's nothing to quantify that or compare that to, because again, I can say, man, he grabbed you. He didn't choke you. That wasn't me. Right? Right. So but that's going back to, again, as we talk about sports, it was different. It was just a different day and age and what happens and how things happen. But anyway, just to kind of talk about, the toughness part of it. But that was the first time I ever thought about mental health in regard to sports.
How did it affect when and how did you see it affect the team?
Oh my God, man, dude, it affected. Again, when you live with somebody, it's a whole nother ballgame, right? It's one thing to see things on ESPN talked about when you live with somebody. He isolated himself, right? I mean, it was a total isolation. It was not going to class anymore because of embarrassment, because there were a lot of people who were like, hey, just suck it up. That's Coach Knight, and the coaches were not doing that at all. They were very serious about what happened. But he isolated himself. And again, as a young person, it's like, hey, leave him alone. He'll be all right. You talking to his parents, you talking to, girlfriend, he'll be all right. Just leave him alone. Give him space. But it was a total isolation. And all of a sudden he's transferring because he felt alone. And he had to go on medicine for that too. Like, again, these are things that I didn't understand that stuff. Why are you taking that? What is that stuff? These things to calm you down. I didn't understand that, but he had to. Right.
Yeah, and
that's the part, again, as a roommate. So it's one thing to talk about this, and I'm just, not to change the subject, but it's one thing to talk about this from like, you're not living with somebody. Like when this comes up, like, first of all, I was on 30 for 30. Damn near 20 years ago, they did the guy who, Bob Abbott, he was with CNN, and I was the only person that spoke up, and I basically, said, was it right? No. Did he choke him? I don't know. But you don't put your hands on somebody to get their attention. Right? My words. And still my words today. You don't have to do that. If you got to find other ways. That's it. For me, it's what not to do. And I don't care what you say, how people say it, wrong is wrong, especially when someone is playing and will go through walls for you. And that's how we all were. We were all seeking his approval, right? You all were seeking coach approval. So that effects of him not going to class, being isolated, being alone, crying, all these things, like, man, get over that, man. It's all good. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because who knows what played on after he left IU. You know, and I remember having a couple of conversations after that. He just felt no one had his back. Right.
And that's sad. And I'm not putting that on. I'm not even putting that on Coach Knight or anybody else there, because it was not. It was not talked about. It's still. I'm not calling it a taboo subject, but it's still a difficult subject. But it definitely wasn't something that came out then. So
that's why, Jim, as I share,
very interesting to learn.
That's why I'm so positive, to be real with you. I mean, I'm not trying to say like it's an act. It's always in my head, man. It's always sunny. The forecast is always sunny because I've seen that. I saw the effects of that, right? And to have that example, it's, if I'm going to coach, and again, great coach, but you have to find other ways to reach people. That's just my take. You got to find other ways to reach people. You got to find, if you get upset, go punch something else, go hit something else, go do something, right? But learn how to communicate and build up and edify people as much as you can. And that's why I am the way I am, because of what I saw, being real with you.